Okay, again, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. My name is Praveen Manuka. I'm part of the IT team, ACG Finance. So I am, heavily involved in this project. One of the key resource here, leading this Ariba implementation. Today's agenda is actually to do a demo on the line of credit. We did a development on how the LOCs going forward should be working. Again, all the instructions and the requirements are being driven by purchasing team. We took the requirements and we built a solution for you. So this demo is to show you exactly what that solution looks like and get your initial feedback and what you think, and any feedback in terms of will this work for you, or you have any questions, you need more enhancements, put your questions in the chat, right? So we can take it back and explore and investigate those things, okay? So let me start sharing my screen. So today I know LOC you create mainly for goods as well as services, right? This is the third LOC demo that we are having this week. The first two sessions, we had a lot of questions related to, how do we create an LOC for professional services, for example, because looks like most of the departments do have LOCs created today for services, right? And also at the same time, you do have LOCs created for procuring goods from your catalog suppliers, right? So the first demo I will be doing today is related to how do you set up a service PO. So let's take an example that you have an order that you have to place with Airgas, where who is providing you weekly services, and you get an invoice from that supplier and you pay that supplier, right? Or maybe there are other scenarios where you get you have to pay the vendor every month. So I will show you how to set up a service PO in the system, which I think will address most of your LOC questions related to services. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to log into the WBGQA, which is basically the test gateway system. Okay, I'm logging in as one of the cardiology user in this case, cardiology in medicine actually. This is an end user requisitioner who is trying to create this service order PO. Okay. So you won't be seeing everything that probably you see on your gateway, because this is all custom based on what this user have access to. So going forward, you should be seeing a new catalog called purchasing. So purchasing is something that you currently used to, right? When you click on shop, it takes you to the SideQuest landing page, right? Similarly, you have an advanced search. There are quite a few tiles that you currently have in your existing process. Going forward, we will have a new catalog called Purchasing New. Within this, we have something called Shop New. Okay, everything that you see here is a new process. Okay, Ariba is a new procurement solution. We are replacing SideQuest. We are replacing SRM with Ariba going forward. Ariba will act both as a catalog supplier. So SideQuest today is only for catalogs, and SRM is basically for creating, describe your cards, but everything eventually ends up in SRM, right? So similarly, Ariba has everything built in, the catalog part where we work with the suppliers to get the catalog prices and catalog files loaded, or setting up the punch out catalogs is within Ariba. And at the same time, buying experience is also within Ariba. So there are different areas or modules within Ariba, but it's an integrated system that is tightly integrated with our SAP financials for creating the POs in the backend, and any invoices that comes in from the supplier also into Ariba will also flow into SAP financial system. Okay.
I got the.
Sorry. Someone has a question?
Yeah.
We cannot hear you.
We got on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Wednesday at 2:01 from Katina.
I think that side talk, Praveen.
I see. Okay, let me mute. I mean, if you're not talking or having questions on this, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. Okay. So, so Shop New is basically, it will launch the Ariba buying screens where you can place catalog or non-catalog orders, which is nothing but you describe your own requirement orders, which is non-catalog. You can do advanced search, which is you wanted to search for your requisitions. So today, as I see some of you are new, first session. Today you call shopping cart, right? When you're creating a requisition, it's shopping cart. Tomorrow we wanted to call, there is a naming convention change. Tomorrow it will be called purchase requisition, okay? And the terminology for PO is not going to change. It's still called purchase order, okay? Vendors, suppliers, we will interchangeably use throughout this session and also in Ariba, okay? When you are having conversations with purchasing team. So advanced search is basically you can search for purchase requisitions you have created. You can see what the status of each purchase requisition is, where in the purchase requisition the approval is. And then you can also search for your purchase orders. Let's say after all the approvals are done on the purchase requisition, there is a PO that gets created. So you can search for the PO. You can search for invoices, etc. Right? And then there are out-of-box Ariba reports that we don't have to worry right now, but we will have a detailed training on them. So today, there are requisitions or shopping carts created with unknown vendor. That process is going away. We don't want you to create shopping carts with unknown vendor with all supporting documents to purchasing team where they set up a vendor for you. Going forward, if you know that you have to work with a new supplier, that doesn't exist in the database or exist in the system, you need to first submit a supplier request form, okay? The supplier request form has its own screen. There was a demo and there is a recording already done on this. I will, once Lucy and Jorge are back, I will ask them to share all those detailed training or demo sessions. So you can actually go back and listen at your convenience, okay? Okay, I'll have to see why this is not opening, but let's see. Okay. Radhika, can you actually ask Mariala and Chaitanya not do anything in the backend, please?
Yeah, sure.
I think they are working, they are doing something. Thank you. Okay. I'll show you. I think there is a team who's working on in the backend. That's why some of the screens did not open up. Sourcing request, don't worry about it right now. Buying and invoicing, I'll get there. Okay. Earmarked fund request. So today you use a terminology line of credit when you want to set up a 1-year commitment against your funding source to procure, let's say, medical supplies, or to have a 1 full year of service with some suppliers. To going forward, we wanted to call the terminology earmarked fund, right? So at the end of the day, line of credit or earmarked fund, it is consuming budget against your funds and WBS elements, right? It is, today LOC is a PO, tomorrow LOC or earmarked fund is not a PO. So you cannot send earmarked fund to the supplier as a PO for them to fulfill the order, right? I'll show you exactly how the vendor gets notified when you place the order and how they will start fulfilling the order, okay? Most of the departments probably already used to this concept in the existing environment, which is parent and child PO. Parent is the LOC and child is the PO that you create against the LOC PO, right? So we want you to follow that. I know there are pain points why you do, some of the departments do not create child PO, want to work only with the LOC PO, but we took all these pain points into consideration and speed up the process of creation of child so that it doesn't go through the approval process again. There is no wait time, but purchasing team would like to actually, make sure that that process is followed, because having a child PO will actually give them the spend visibility, meaning eventually when we get an invoice against this child PO, we will know exactly what items were procured, what is a commodity codes associated with each of the item, and they can derive the spend analytic reports, and it will give them an opportunity for them to go back to the supplier and negotiate the price as needed. I think there was some kind of communication already went related to that. There is going to be a change in the LOC process, and a purchasing team is requesting you to place a child PO for every LOC going forward. Okay. So let me check this again. Okay. What's going on? Let's see this. Okay, so I'll go with the shopping experience, creation of the service order. Okay, so when you click on this shop, it opened up this new page. So this is Ariba screens. Okay, it is another tile-based UI where you actually can see some of the tiles associated with catalogs or major categories, right? Lab purchases, office supplies, medical clinical supplies, IT supplies, etc. Right? Within each of these major categories, you should be able to, you should see, again, this is test, not every supplier might be here, every catalog supplier, but these are your major lab supplies, catalog suppliers, right? So which includes some of the suppliers might be punch out, meaning that you have to go to the vendor website, place the order and check it back into WCM purchasing application. There are some catalog suppliers here who are hosted catalogs, meaning that we have all their items in our database where you can actually buy. You don't have to be on the supplier portal for placing the order, right? So it's a combination. So again, purchasing team should already have given you or will help you out with that in terms of who are your catalog hosted suppliers versus punch out suppliers, okay? Coming to placing your describe cards going forward, we call that as a non-catalog item, right? When you click on this, this is where you say what you need, and you will input the so when you do that, there are two options that you see, right? You wanted to procure goods or you wanted to procure services from the supplier, right? I'll go over this shortly. So trying to explain what's on the monitor here. Your favorites, you can create your favorites in terms of if you constantly buy lab supplies, you can add that favorite here, right? And at the same time, if you want to keep a supplier in your favorite list, you can add that as well. There is a training session created on how to create favorites. We will make sure that that is part of the job aids that you have. One important thing that I also want to mention is here, there is a help, right? This will list every FAQs in terms of, okay, how to find desktop computers, right? How to create a requisition or how to add favorites, how to approve. All those will be added as a help content here, which is searchable. And when you click on that, there will be a message for each and every help content here saying what you have to do. There might be a content here where it will tell you, okay, maybe you have to read, it will redirect you to a URL, like help files URL, which have a detailed job aid there, right? So it's a combination. If we can also have videos, we will also place the videos here in terms of the training manuals that are being created, right? So again, this is something that we are expanding. This is just test, but in production, all the FAQs that we collected so far in various different meetings, we are going to prepare a content for that and add it to this help center here, okay? There are different ways of getting to the training material. There is, again, we are sharing the project, Ariba project website. There is a section on that Ariba project website for the training. You can access all the training content from there as well. But this is where you can access within the application as well, okay? Your request is basically, this will give you a list of all the requisitions that you have created and what is the status, different ways of filtering that. You can see codes. Again, this is something related to tactical sourcing, which is 3 bits in a buy process, buy request. Anytime there is a 3 bit in a buy scenarios, yeah, that will show up in the codes here. And then invoices. Invoices, maybe there are some departments. I think we heard some requirements that if you place a professional services order, right? When the invoice comes in, you do not want AP to pay the invoice without department actually validating or verifying that work was actually completed, right? So there is a way we can actually request at the time of requisition creation, saying that, do you want to review invoice before you play, before AP pays the vendor? If you say yes to that, by default, we are saying yes, but if you say yes, at the time of PR creation, invoices are not automatically processed. So the requisitioner have to review that the work is complete, and only then AP can make that payment to the supplier, okay? So don't worry about other tabs here. And coming to your approvals, if there are any approvals on the training session, if there is, again, this is a requisitioner, so obviously they don't have anything in their queue for approve. But if there is an DA or DD or DIVA or first level budget approvers, anything which is pending their approval will be listed here in the dashboard, okay? I'm not looking at the chat, but let me see if we are getting questions here. Radhika, can you make a note of these questions, and if you can address them, please?
Sure.
If not, let me know, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go ahead and create a service order. So the way to do this is click on services. So let's call this as professional services. This is your header text of the PO or requisition. So category, this is a commodity code, which is nothing but UNSPSC code. It's a global code used everywhere. Today, you are used to the GL codes. Going forward, we want you to actually input the commodity code because this is what drives the GL. And eventually for purchasing team, this is what drives the spend as well. Okay. And this is the lowest level below the GL, which you can actually, I mean, it's not hard to use. You can search, if you know the UNSPSC code, you can search by ID, or you can always search by name as well, right? For example, I'm just taking an example, right? Medical equipment, medical. So this is a hierarchy, UNSPSC code. I mean, if you go to unspsc.gov or something, you will see what is the structure made up of, right? It has eight-digit number. The first two resembles the class. Then we have hierarchy. Then we have segment, etc. Right? So if I'm selecting 42, that is the top node of medical equipment. But if you want to do a drill down, okay, within medical equipment, there is medical equipment protectors, right? Which is level 3 hierarchy below the medical equipment. So again, you can search here, you can select this, but the GL is going to be deriving the same thing. But we ask that, okay, are you buying bags? Are you buying protectors? Are you buying gloves, etc. Right? So that way we know exactly what's been procured. So for this example, because this is professional services, let me search professional. So there are quite a few professional services which is already out there. These are all standard. I think suppliers use it, all other customers use it. And going forward, we will be using the same language when we talk with suppliers, and we will get used to these numbers as well. So in this case, professional procurement services, let me select this, right? So because maybe this is a service that Airgas is providing us. Okay. Start date, when is your start date for this service? Let's say starting from today, and the end date, let's take an example that this is a 3-month service, okay? Description is a long text. If you want a supplier to know more details, you can always type this here. I don't think there is any limitation on the amount of text you can put it put here, okay? Service amount, because this is 3 months, let's take 15,000 as the service. Each month is 5,000. I'm just taking an example here, but if you have any questions, let me know.
I have a question.
Sure.
So for the service name, is that more just like a personal title that you can give it, or that's something that you guys look at and need a specific name for it?
No, I mean, let's say this is professional services, nitrogen fill, something that you understand.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
And also it's useful for the supplier, right?
Right. Okay.
Again, I don't know all the details of what exactly your business needs will be, right? But so this is basically your requisition title that you use today, or shopping cart title. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So view all suppliers. Let me cancel that. Okay. For this category, purchasing team is working on coming up with a list of preferred supplier list, meaning for this professional services, if you have a dedicated preferred supplier list, purchasing team will build that relationship. So what this screen will show you is if there is a Airgas or Unitex or some supplier, they will show up here in this menu here, right? That for this category, these are your catalog suppliers, but not necessarily, but this is something that purchasing team is guiding you, saying that, okay, because you selected this category, we have this relationship with the suppliers, choose one of them, right? But if you think that you have to place an order with supplier, which is not preferred, you can always do that by going to view all suppliers and pick the supplier. So this will have all active purchasing suppliers in this list, okay? You can search either by the supplier ID or you can search by name, address, city. So all kinds of fuzzy search you can do to get to the supplier you want. Okay, so I know the supplier I'm trying to place order with, the ID. So I'm taking that example. Okay, ABC supplier. This is again created for test. So this says that I have chosen the supplier. So show recommended suppliers will not have any because there's no linkage. For this category, there is no recommended suppliers. So then you'll say add to cart. Let me get rid of this because this is already sitting in the cart from previous testing. So I'll check this out. Okay. Now what you have to do, right? You already have a need by date. You have flow, you have, oh, hold on. Did I remove the wrong card? I think so. This is so need by date is something you have to fill in because this is actually saved from the other cart. It's bringing that value, but you have to select when you want this product by because this is a service, right? And I said July 15th is the end date. Let me put that end date because that is when you are anticipating the need by date will be completed by then, or this order will be completed. Okay. Floor and room, again, I think you are already used to in the existing environment. So this is user parameter. If you have the default set, this will come automatically from the user profile. If you don't have on your user profile, this will be, you have to fill in that information.
Just look at it's amazing how few people have like biochemistry background.
Okay, I don't know if someone is asking a question or that's a side conversation.
Helping them through it.
Thank you.
No, do you want to play a match since you have 3, 5, 4?
Okay.
You have to accumulate.
Okay, I'm muted. So would you like to review the invoice for this order before it is paid? So this is what I was saying, right? If you, by default, it is yes, when you're trying to create a new card, it comes as yes. Again, I was trying to use what's in the card. So it used a value that I had before, but by default, if you're creating a new requisition, okay, this is always comes as yes. That means when the invoice comes in, it won't be in the financial system for AP to pay because it's waiting for this requisitioner to approve this, right? I know that requisitioner is not the one who will be approving invoices, but what we are requesting here is the requisitioner have to confirm with the budget approvers, have to confirm with maybe PIs, have to confirm with whoever the service is being placed with, saying that, yes, we are good to pay with this supplier. But at the same time, we are setting up some escalations saying that, okay, if this requisitioner do not act for, like let's say 2 days, because this is invoice, we want to make sure vendors are getting paid quicker, right? If you do not, then they will come back to us. So, come back to APT. So we are setting up escalations that if the requisition do not act by like 1 or 2 days, or 2 days, let's say, it will be escalated and go to the supervisor, or they will get an email reminder again saying that there's something pending in their queue. Okay. But if they don't want to act on this invoice, they can always set to no. Okay. That means that they are not part of the invoice approval process. So now let's make this yes and move forward. In the line item, all you have to do here is make sure you're filling up the accounting information. You have to say, what is your fund or WBS that you're trying to use, right? Internal order, maybe you have seen this in even current environment. ITS only uses internal order. Earmarked fund line item. So this is the document header. This is the line item. So this is your LOC going forward for the goods. But right now for services, you're not placing an LOC, you are placing a PO. Okay. When I'm creating requisition for services, it is going to be a PO. There is split accounting. You can go here, split against various funds. Okay. So for this example, I'm selecting medicine. That's pretty much. So just to show you shipping by default, even though this is services, it's being defaulted from the profile saying that any order for this person, for this user goes to this location, docking location. Don't worry about the ERS right now. We'll provide detailed training on that. Delivered to is basically the first name and last name, which gets printed on the PO. This test user first name, last name is like this, which is like FN underscore employee number followed by last name underscore employee number. But ideally in production, this would be first name and last name. Okay. Purchasing group, this is also defaulted from the user profile. Need by date, again. The reason why you have need by date on the header, this is header. Also on line item is if you have multiple line items and the line item 1, you want it quicker than line item 2, you can always manage that need by date accordingly at the line item level. Okay. Comments, you can add, so you currently have external comments section today, or which is on the BI report. If you want more details for the supplier to know, you can always type that in and share with supplier. If you don't click on share with supplier, that becomes your internal notes, meaning that will be visible for your approvers. Attachments, if you want to drag and drop any attachments like codes, code information. In the other, again, commodity code copied over from your first screen, and purchase org is also copied over plan. These are all coming from your line item level. You also have floor and row. So similarly, the way I was explaining need by date, you can also have a different floor and room, and even the delivered to for different for every line item. You can manage that.
Thank you.
Okay. So before I hit submit, you can actually see all the approvals that's part of this. So because this is a cardiology medicine user, and this is a described non-catalog item request. So the first approver is purchasing approval. Then we have the divisional administrator, and the department and department administrator and department designee, right? It has to go through approvals. There is no change in the approvals in terms of what you currently have. It's the same approval steps. Okay, so let me go ahead and place this. Okay, so it says that your requisition has been sent for approval. There will be email notifications that will be sent out to the approvers at this stage, saying that it's waiting in their queue. At the same time, approver as a day-to-day basis, if they go to the dashboard I was showing before in the my approvals, they will see everything that's pending in their queue for that day. Okay. So it's PR 3172, PR 3172. Today, you know the shopping cart number. Tomorrow, any requisition have a PR number. It is not a PO yet because it's not approved, right? So Radhika, so again, quick question. To save, we have limited time. I don't want to go through any of these approvals in this meeting, but approvals are pretty straightforward. Go to my approvals. You should see what's pending. You should be able to approve that, right? If there are any approvers in this. So for this demo, as an administrator, we will go and remove these approvers. No one can actually remove in actual production, but this is test. We will remove to speed up this demo. Okay, Radhika, can you remove this, please?
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, one gone, another gone.
Yeah, I see some of the questions. Can you clarify? You just said for services, you are creating a PO and not using an EMF, but you are saying that we do not create EMFs for services. I'm thinking of a laundry vendor, my cleaning company, and others that will require a blanket PO. Great question, Edgar. So all these examples you mentioned here, laundry services, cleaning services, they are going to be your service POs going forward, not LOCs. Okay. I'll get to when you will create the EMF and why, okay, shortly. Okay, so thanks for removing all the approvals. As you can see, it says, right, Radhika removed all these approvals, but in production, we cannot really remove any of them. So it says that this is ordered now and there is a PO, right? So if you click on the PO, it will have a PO screen, right? There is terms and conditions, and it has a history which says that the funds are successfully encumbered, which is nothing but you have committed the funds. The order was replicated to the ERP system, which is financial system. I think you are already used to these kind of messages in existing environment. What is new is this one here. This supplier I'm working with is on the Ariba network. Ariba network is basically a cloud system where all the suppliers that we have relationship with chose to be on the network. Means they are on the Ariba network who are working with various customers, right? They have their own dashboards. But what this Ariba network will do is if you place an order, let's say you have a relationship with a supplier and their supplier says they are on the Ariba network, right? And they're registered on the Ariba network. When you place this order, you don't have to go save a PDF copy of this PO and send it to the supplier by email, right? Electronically, as soon as an order is created, the PO is routed to this supplier via the network. So and supplier gets an email notification that the PO was sent out, right? That you can confirm here saying that this order was successfully sent to Ariba network to ABC supplier. Okay, there will be suppliers who will not be on the Ariba network, and whatever process you currently have, which is print and send an email, that will continue. So let's see. Okay, so I will go to a different view. You see there is an icon here that will take to the PO, but in a different view, basically. Okay, which might also help you. Should not be asking me this login, but let me check. Okay, so this is a different view. It just shows like the same information that you see on the other screen. Okay, it also says that this is sent to the ABC supplier, but it's just different view, which is more text-based. Okay. Okay, so now do you want me to process invoice against this where you want to see? So the supplier, let me show you what is the how supplier will see it on their network, right? Again, this is something that you won't be doing. This is just for your understanding purposes, that how supplier can act from the Ariba network. Okay, so we just created order 15,000, right? This is the supplier portal. Okay, this is ABC supplier. So when they go to their list of purchase orders, they see that the PO came from WCMC. They will be working with multiple customers, right? And WCM is one of the customer. They will see that the PO came from WCMC. What is the status? What's the amount? And whether we invoiced it or not invoiced it, right? So basically, if they have invoiced it or partially invoiced, they will see the status, etc. Okay. So now let's go ahead and confirm the order. So as a supplier, confirming the entire order, saying that yes, they received the order, PO. Okay. So I'll say order confirmation 719. Estimated. Let's say this is July 15th, right? That's pretty much any attachments that they want to add, they can do that and submit. So what happened now, right? Now I switch back to requisitioner. Let's refresh this. Now requisitioner sees that yes, supplier did confirm that they received our PO, right? Before it was 0, now it's 1, right? Actually, you can see that order confirmation was, the confirmation ID was received. So they are confirming that they received our PO, right? Okay, so don't worry, this one will never be updated because we don't have goods receipt process in New York. Okay, but coming back to, like, let's say, I think there were some questions that came up where how do I print a PO? I don't see why you want to print a PO because supplier is already receiving the PO. And the requisitioner can always go to the PO to see what are the details. But if you still want to save it as a PDF, you can click on that icon there, which is that other view, and click on the print preview. Okay, so you can save this as your PDF, save as a PDF. Okay, sorry, print as PDF, basically. So there are a couple of things that RH is working on some of the changes with us. Like, for example, requisitioner is missing. So we are trying to add that information. Going forward, the terms and conditions for the supplier is not going to run into pages. So purchasing team have created a general URL with all the terms and conditions there. So anytime supplier, when they click, go into that URL, will see our WCM terms and conditions, right? We simplified the form as much as possible, but with all necessary information that should be there. Okay, so let's close out this. Go back.
There is a question, Praveen, in the chat.
Okay, thank you. That's a big one. Amerisource Virgin Oncology Supply invoices are paid by due date based on payment terms 30, 60, 90, 120 for specific drugs on contract, but created by vendors as soon as pharmacists order drugs from Nucleus machine in our pharmacies. Can you hold invoices up to 120 days? So you don't want to pay the supplier up to 120 days. Again, that is a question for purchasing team. It depends on what is the payment terms you agreed with the supplier. If you have agreed that you will pay after, hold up to 120 days, then might be okay. But again, I am being part of IT. I do not know what are the terms your purchasing team have agreed to with the supplier. Okay, so I'll wait. We will make sure RH gets this and respond to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's see. As a supplier, like, because now I did this, just for your understanding again, so let's say they are processing an invoice for partial amount. So let's see, IMV. This is again supplier view. You will never be doing this, okay? So we are tax exempt, remove the tax. So let's now, they're billing us for April. Okay, so 3 months, so 5,000 they're charging us. Next, submit. Okay. So now the invoice is submitted by the user. So let's see what happened to this. So if I refresh, what is this user?
You were in DRQ ID, right?
Yeah, I have switched the user, so I'm going back. Okay, sign out. I think I switched the requisition, but let me change it back. This is the requisitioner I place the order with. Great. So let's go back to the same. Now, I don't have to go to this to see, because this buying and invoicing is the detailed view that I was talking before. Okay. So I know that this is the 719 we just created. We can see recently viewed in the list of POs here. Radhika, why there is no invoice here?
You invoice 719, right?
Yeah. That's it. Done. Fresh.
Partially invoiced.
Partially invoiced. Okay. Okay, let's see this. Could be some screen refresh. So prior to this, we did 714. Let's find that guy. Purchase order 411 0100 714. So 1 second. Sorry, I think I was using wrong IDs all this time.
I see the invoice on 719.
You do?
Yeah, I just logged in with my ID.
Okay. Oh, this is switching. That is a problem. You see this? This is not NDRQ. That is a problem. I don't know why. Let me close out the browsers because I am playing around with multiple IDs. So let me open incognito. WPGQA. NDRQ. Test. So I'll launch this now. Now see that this is still NDRQ. Yeah, it is NDRQ. Okay, 411-0100 719. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, apologies, I was in the wrong ID. So if you click on the invoice here, right? We just, as a supplier, we just process 5,000, but it is in reconciling status. So this is where I was saying, what does reconciling status means? Meaning that this invoice is not approved yet for AP to pay, right? It's still in that. So how do I know that this is still in approval step, and who is it with, right? The requisitioner should get an email because they are part of the approval step. Okay, so here it says that it is approving, it's not approved. So if I look at this, it will say that this is the user who need to approve, right? As a user, I can go to the shop. They get an email. That's one way of knowing that there is approval, waiting for them to take action. Or if they go to their dashboard, they see something is waiting in the queue, right? This is that 5,000. So click on the see details and review that all the details of this line item, everything, right, that came from the supplier, that they are charging us 5,000. Make sure there are, maybe if there are any special handling, they will see that information. Make sure there is no tax, whatever validations you currently do, right? And then click approve. Add comments if you want to, and submit. So now this invoice is approved, right? So if I refresh, go back to home page, go back to the PO view. $719, you can click on that directly. So if I go to see the invoice, you have to click on that, okay? The invoice view doesn't show up in that initial screen. Now, if you see here, it's reconciled, right? What does reconcile means? It's fully approved and paying is failed. Okay, so this what happens is now, once a reconcile status is complete, this document gets created as FI invoice in SAP system. So AP team can pick it up and pay the supplier. Okay, so once the payment is complete, this status here will change to paid. So even supplier will be notified once the invoice gets paid. So you don't have to actually go to AP asking what happened to this vendor invoice, because as an end user, when they go into that respective PO, they should be able to see what is the status of the invoice, whether it is still in reconciled but sending status. That means it is still with AP team. But if this changes to paid, that means the vendor is paid, and even vendor also, or supplier also gets notified that invoice is paid. When they go to their dashboard, they will see the status that it's paid. Okay. So this is how you actually create the LOCs for professional services going forward. But let's say that now you have a request where you have to create LOCs for procuring goods with catalog supplies. Let's say you have a constant need of getting medical supplies for one full fiscal year, right? For your labs, and you are placing an order with one of the vendors, right? For one full year. So for that, what we are asking is, first thing is, why are you creating LOC? Is nothing but creating, you are consuming or setting up that budget aside for one full year, right? My understanding. So in order to do that, we ask you to click on the Earmarked fund request. This is again only for goods, not services. Okay. So you are used to the e-form screens today, e-form payment requisition screens today, and travel and expense. This is very similar, right? The dashboard that you see, the statuses that you see, it's pretty similar to what you currently see. There are certain additional fees that you see here is, like what's the vendor number that you're dealing with, EMF document number, which is once you submit, there is an EMF document number, which is nothing but a commitment document, or you can also call it as fund reservation document. What's the total amount of this EMF, the due date? So you should, because this is created for test for this fiscal 2023 fiscal year. The due date is the last fiscal day of that year. Requested by who is the first name and the last name, right? And request date. You have eForm monitor. Even in eForm monitor, you will be seeing another value in the dropdown along with the funds, payment requisition, TND. You will also see earmarked fund, but that tile that I just clicked on will directly take you to this dedicated EMF monitor. Okay, by default, every user will see up to 3 years of EMFs that they have created. And we are assuming that last fiscal year, we have about 3,500 LOCs created for among 55 departments. 55 departments actually used LOC. And from that 3,500, looks like most of them are associated with service. So you will not be creating EMF for those service. You will be creating service POs, right? So the volume we are assuming will be less going forward for the true goods EMF. Okay, so for creating a new EMF, click on that earmarked fund request. It opens its own screen. Okay, very simple screen. You have to put in the justification. There is no limit on what you can type in here. This is for your visibility as well as approvers to know why you are setting this up, right? Just by default, we are giving your due date of because you're setting up in April. So we are saying that, okay, maybe you're trying to set up a EMF for next fiscal year. So we are giving the last day of the next fiscal year, but you can always edit that date. Title, we request you to put more meaningful title here because this is critical for you when you're placing a child order in the buying and invoicing to identify what is your parent. Parent is this EMF, right? The way you can identify is a combination of vendor, title, and fund. They gets concatenated in the requisition screen when you're like trying to find the parent. Okay. So for this, I'll say test. Now, vendor. This will give you a list of all your vendors, purchasing vendors. Especially, we are guessing that you will be creating for catalog. That's what Arhe was mentioning me. So for this example, let me use AppCam. GL account, these are all your purchasing GL accounts, GL codes. You are placing this EMF against, let's say, medical supplies. Select that. You can search based on code or search based on name as well, both vendor and GL. Next step. This is your funding split. Let's say your EMF EMF is earmarked fund, right? If you are creating EMF for one line, one GL code, but you want to split from various funding sources, you can do that split. Okay. You can also, there is no limit on how many lines you can add, but I don't know realistically how many splits you will have. So I'm using fund for now. You can also select WBS, but once you use fund, you can see the same line on the split cannot also have WBS, right? IO number is internal order number, which only ITS uses. Okay, there is a question. Why wasn't the same earmarked fund request tab created for both goods and services and then given the option to selection either goods or services? Because services, you are setting up a PO. Earmarked fund for goods, you're not setting up a PO. You are setting up a commitment, meaning you're consuming the budget. But but you have to place a child PO against the EMF for goods.
But it's the same way for services. I mean, when I book my cleaning company for a year, I'm holding X number of thousands of dollars, and then they're going to invoice month to month. And so I don't see how that's really different.
Right, because that is created as a service order and you can have multiple invoice. So there you will say in the service, you are putting just one quantity, but amount will be your service amount, right? and you can receive multiple invoices from supplier against the service PO. Coming to the goods, when you set up for goods, you don't know exactly what you're going to procure, right? When you're setting up the LOC today. Eventually, you will maybe call the supplier, ask them to provide, the itemized products, right? So because you don't know the details what you're going to set up, so you don't. So what purchasing told is, going forward to drive the spend, we need to know what products are actually procured. We are losing that visibility today because we just have LOC. The amount is inputted as a quantity, and the products actually come when the invoice comes in. Supplier do send all the details of the invoice line items, but when it actually gets posted in SAP, it's consolidated to one line. So when we look back and looked at the invoice spend, we don't know what products actually came in the door, right? We don't know how to do the spend analytics. I mean, this is again speak on behalf of purchasing here. Okay, so because you do not, so the purpose of setting up the EMF for goods is you are just committing here, but this is not a legal document for vendor to start, confirming the order. Okay. I hope I explained, but I'll if you still need more questions, have more question, I'll have Jorge respond once he is back on vacation next week. Okay, so as soon as we go to the next screen, there was a message out there saying that a request ID was created. The request ID is basically the form ID. Every form is associated with an ID. So end user can actually review what's actually been requested. And then they can also do supporting documents, attach supporting documents, drag and drop or upload from their screen, which they can see and then submit for approval. There will be a question asking for the user, are you sure you want to submit your report? The answer is yes. This is when you are consuming the budget. This is not a PO to supplier yet. Okay. Whereas service PO, immediately that becomes a PO to the supplier. But in this case, this is not a PO. The number range might confuse you. The number range is still in the PO number range, but this is not a PO. Okay. This is just a fund reservation document.
Right. Well, currently in all LOCs are 4.2 numbers and all child POs are 4.1s. So again, using the same cleaning vendor or service vendor, all my service vendor LOCs are 4.2s. And then as we get invoices and we submit through WCM PO invoice, then it gets paid and encumbered against that 42.
Right. So yeah, so when you see this 4.2 number, that's what I was saying, right? The LOCs going forward are only applicable for goods. You are not setting up LOCs for services anymore. You are setting up a 4.1 going forward for services. Okay. I know that maybe it is some confusion there in terms of number ranges, and but it is this is what we will be providing detailed training on. But going forward, service orders will be a PO to the supplier. It doesn't have to be considered as an LOC because it is a PO, right? A line of credit is something that WCM came up with initially, which is a naming convention. And at that time, there was a requirement that we wanted to have one order, created with the supplier for one fiscal year. But bottom line, it is a service order, right? So in going forward, we wanted to differentiate. Today in the 4.2, we cannot, I don't know how to differentiate what is service order versus how to differentiate what is a goods order. But going forward, because we have created a service order, it gives us that breakdown right in the reporting saying that, okay, even though this is a 4.1 series, but the categorization, like when you have seen the screen, goods and services, I selected services. So system keeps track that this is a service versus a good. Okay. So let me go back. I mean, this is now it has its own approval. So let me close out this, show you the one that just got created. It has its own approval, very similar to purchasing approval. It right now it shows only one, but once the first level approves, this is the budget approver, then it goes to the DA, then it, DIVA, and then it goes to the DD. So same purchasing approvals are applied here as well. Okay. So once this is completed, that's when the requisitioner, when they are in the purchasing screen, let me go back to the shop title type. Now you want to place a non-catalog catalog order, right? You already have a pre-approved LOC now, right? But what we are asking going forward is, we have for the child, you have to create a child order for the products that you want from the catalog supplier, right? But when you are creating this, you can refer to that EMF. So all the approvals will be skipped. The only input that you give here is adding the need by date. Apart from that, everything else is copied over from the EMF. Okay. So I'm just doing a catalog order against an EMF. The supply strings that you're seeing doesn't change. This is a punch out supplier. Whatever you currently see, it's the same experience. Okay, to transfer, check out. Okay, so again, floor and room, don't worry about it because we are expecting that everyone will be defaulting that floor and room in their own profile. So once you do that, every card you create will automatically derive those values. Need by date. So we request that, put the need by date when you need this product by. And if you go to the accounting, this is where you have to select the EMF, right? I just created, I didn't approve. So obviously it's not available for me to use, but I'll use what we created before. So as you can see, these are all the EMFs created in the system as part of the testing, right? It has who's a vendor, the funding source, the title, which is on the EMF. So basically it has the line item of the parent here, right? Then you will also have, I think in yesterday's meeting, there was a recommendation that why can't we also have a requisitioner as part of this text so that it's easily identifiable. They can do a search based on ID if they know this or name, right? So in this case, let's choose this. So they have to also select the header, as I said. So header and line item, again, I'm using the wrong ID, but if I'm using the right ID, there is a validation in place where it says that if the user doesn't belong to medicine and trying to use this EMF, they cannot move forward with this because this is very specific to medicine, right? But I think that is a validation which is kicking and saying that this is not consistent, right? But I can show you, we can complete this, but what happens is once you refer this EMF, this approval will go away and you just submit and the order gets to the supplier. Okay, I think yesterday, I know we are running out of time, sorry for that, but yesterday's demo, like we went over very detailed in terms of how do you create this requisition, how, with respect to EMF. So I will share that recording as well on Monday, where you can actually listen to the last 10 minutes there. Just again, with respect to time, I know that most of you might be having some different meetings as well. Any other question? You can always reach out to us. You can reach out to that project email ID, or you can reach out to Jorge or Lucy, and we will take it from there. So if you have any process related questions or related to what you want to do with any individual supplier, I request that you email that to purchasing, because I, being part of IT, I will not be able to explain everything in detail. Okay. If you have any questions, any other questions, let me know, or else thank you. Thanks everyone. Appreciate for all your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye. You have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you.